Hey guys, so this is my second attempt at this video. I filmed one in June, the 10 books I read in June. I filmed it, I was sweating, I'm pretty sure I had a sinus infection or something. My eyes were watering, my nose was watering, I'm sweating. Every 30 seconds I had to pause and like tap at my nose and my eyes. All for me to finish filming, edit, and then halfway through editing I noticed that there is no sound. Oh my god, I just wanted to start crying. I did cry for a bit because I was like, are you kidding me? I was basically in pain filming and it took so long because of all the tapping all over my face just for halfway through the video to lose sound. So I was like, okay, what do I do? And I was like, let me just combine June and July. And I think it's perfect because I only read 2 books in July. Let's hope this round 2 goes well. Okay, so this first book I wanted to read because I saw it at Barnes & Noble's, and of course it had the prettiest sprayed edges. Again, no matter how gorgeous a book is, I will not buy it unless I read it first. And if I know that I'm never gonna read that book again, then I'm not gonna buy it. For example, I love the sprayed edges on Psycho-Fae, but I know I'm never going to read that book again, so it's not worth buying it. But did I buy this first book I am talking about? I did. I bought the first 2 books, and I'm probably going to buy the third one. And I don't even know the names of these books. I don't even attempt to because it's like A Court of Thorns and Roses. It's one of those. See? Reign of Shadows and Endings, Storm of Secrets and Sorrow. I already forgot the title, but I love this series and let's talk about it. Okay, before I talk about these books, I am letting you know that they are the most simple plots. There's basically like one end goal, one end purpose with this book, which is not usually what intrigues me with books. Multiple POVs, multiple goals, multiple relationships happening. That's what I need. But sometimes, just sometimes, I am completely happy with one simple goal, one simple plot. For example, Heartless Hunter, there was just like one goal here, but I still love the book. I don't know how, but this simple plotted series just captured my attention. When I went to bed, I couldn't stop thinking about it. I don't know why. I don't remember the last book where I felt that way. Like I'll read a book, if it's good, like I'll sometimes think about it, but I don't know why. I just kept thinking about this book. When I needed to get up to go pee at 3 a.m. when I went back to bed, I immediately grabbed my Kindle and continued reading. And no matter how much a book intrigues me, there always comes a point where I'm like, okay, I need a TikTok break, I need a food break. But I remember I was up at 6 a.m. with the first book and I read straight until 6 p.m. And the only reason I stopped reading at 6 p.m. is because we went to have dinner with friends. The last book I remember that happening with was Heat of the Everflame, like non-stop, just kept reading. A big reason is obviously how the author writes. I hate too much detail or too little detail in books, but she gives like the perfect amount of intrigue where I need to keep reading. This is what I'm talking about when I always mention Guild. I'm so sorry, I'm always like bringing up the Guild series, but I bring that up because I feel like that would be one of my favorite book series ever if it was a different author because it was so fillery. I'm just like, please get to the point. Okay, I hope I'm not overselling these books, but for some reason they just had a hold on me. So yeah, let me talk about what they're actually about. We start with our girl Tessalyn and we have an instant meet cute. She's hiding away in an alcove. I'm pretty sure there's curtains so no one can see her. She's hiding behind there eating chocolate. There's a party going on in the background. And we instantly get our dark-haired, hot MMC, Theon, opening the curtain and he sees her there eating her chocolate. It's kind of giving...
There you are. I've been looking for you.
Tessa is internally freaking out because he's a legacy. Tessa is Fae, by the way, so there are Fae. It's not like a huge deal, compared to like ACOTAR where it's like all about the Fae. There are humans, but don't really talk about them. So again, remember there's a party in the background. The party is there because a bunch of legacies are there to find their source. A Fae's whole purpose in this world is being a source to refill a legacy's power. I'm like, it sounds more like you legacy people are weak if you need to draw power from someone else, Anyways, when it's time for the legacies to choose their source, he obviously chooses her, duh, and she is in complete shock. Tessa is no one. She was just there at the party to be with her friends, go have pizza afterwards, and now her world is completely turned upside down. So her world being turned upside down is basically what this first book is about. Usually there comes a time when I'm just over the FMC's bratty, whiny, woe is me attitude. Tessa's attitude throughout this book did not annoy me at all. She has a reason to talk back, especially if you just learn that your main purpose in life is to be a legacy source of power. Meaning they take everything from you, yet you get nothing in return. Even if you're in love with the legacy, you don't even get to be with them. The legacy will still get married, and you're basically the side chick who's standing in the background until they need your power. So again, when Tessa learned that this was going to happen to her, it happened so quickly she didn't have time to process it. So of course she's going to be mad and she can't just get over it. This all happened against her will. This first book is basically her being rushed to be taught how to basically be a slave. Remember Theon, or MMC? He is actually very patient with her, but he can't show weakness in front of his evil dad. So he has to be firm with his source in front of his dad. And it confuses Tessa because she's like, you're so nice to me when we're alone. How can you be such a dick? And I'm here like, girl, he's acting. So like, I can see both sides. I'm also thrown off because they're Fae, but then there's cars and laptops in this world. Theon actually reminded me of Tristan, the MMC in Assistant to the Villain, except Theon is a darker version of Tristan. He's actually a villain. Tristan is not a villain. The world thinks he is, but he's actually like the sweetest guy. But if you want, again, a more dark, morally gray villain, then you'd probably like Theon. So this whole time, I'm very curious to see where this book is going. I don't even know if I can call this enemies to lovers because Theon is very much into Tessa. But you can tell Tessa does not want him at all. There's no hint of her starting to fall in love with him. She's not opening up to him at all. No matter how sweet he is to her, she'll always see him as the guy that forced this world upon her. She's also tried to run away multiple times, and you just know she is not gonna care one bit if she ever sees this man again. I think that's also what hooked me in because I'm over here waiting for her to feel something for him and it's just not happening. Then I finally know where this series is going because a common book trope happens. Not my favorite book trope, but I actually didn't roll my eyes and go like, oh, this again. I was just like, oh, okay, now I see where this book is heading. So towards the end of this first book, we are building on that book trope. Second and third book, this is where I get vague because again, I don't want to give any spoilers. And again, I don't know what's up with me in second books, but I never write notes for them. I think because this is where it gets so good. I mean, the first one was so good. Like I said, I couldn't stop reading. But usually the second book is where it gets so good, where I instantly jump into the third book. Second book is basically her coming into the woman she's supposed to be. I mean, she's basically being forced to hurry up and mature. She's in a pressure cooker waiting to explode. Now the third book, this is where I'm finally starting to get annoyed at Tessa. I'm pretty sure the third book hardcover is coming out this month. I am gonna get it, but I'm not gonna get the fourth book. We'll get there. So usually the third books are my favorite, but when my least favorite book trope of all time came to play towards the end of the third book, I knew it was coming, but when it finally came, I was just like, like all my love and obsession for it just completely went away. I completely forgot about the books. I literally rolled my eyes when it happened. Like as I read it, I was just like, it just came naturally. That's how annoyed I was. I don't know why this book trope needs to happen in so many books. I'm sure people like it, but it ruins all the giggly, heart-beating feelings I have inside. And you won't know what I'm talking about unless you know what my least favorite book trope is. So hopefully I'm not spoiling it. I did notice that I actually took breaks with the third book because of this. Like I said, with the first and second books, just non-stop reading. But now my girl Tessa is getting annoying. She can't decide if she wants to be the villain, but it's her destiny to be the villain. But what else is out there for her? She doesn't trust anyone. She doesn't feel like she belongs anywhere. She has no one who can relate to her. Everyone is using her for something. So does she fulfill her purpose or not? other than what everyone wants her to do, she doesn't even know what she wants. It's also very annoying how much she hates everyone, but she loves calling for them when she needs backup. And I'm just like, girl, aren't you just using them too? Just like you hated them using you? Anyways, it sucks how I was so obsessed with these 3 books. I have no idea why I just couldn't stop thinking about them. But when that stupid book trope happened, it's like my brain completely cut them off and I never went back to thinking about them. It took me almost 2 months to read the 4th book. That's how turned off I was from the stupid book trope at the ending of book 3. Since it took almost 2 months for me to get to the last book, I forgot a big chunk of the book, and I do appreciate that the author has like fun recaps of the books at the beginning. Like, I never read a recap even if I forgot the book, but like they're fun because they're being read by, I want to say, like this funny couple. So the last and final book, this book was drawn out. Every book before this had constant obstacles. There were no lulls in the books. Something had to always be going on. You would think in this 4th book, since they're basically trying to save their world, Tessa now has triple the amount of adversaries compared to the first few books, where she just mostly had to worry about her 2 hot guy kidnappers. Now she has triple the amount of enemies, including gods, including friends who betrayed her. I expected the 4th one to be the most fast-paced out of all the books, but it was not. We have 4 books of build-up, seeing what Tessa becomes, the chaos and madness inside of her. Tessa keeps having these repetitive dreams and visions. I want to say she has the same one for like 2 books, and it's a really intriguing vision. Like, I couldn't wait for that vision to play out. Like, I wanted to see how it was gonna work. Spoiler alert, it doesn't happen. So yeah, we have hundreds and hundreds of pages leading up to this epic battle, and it took like 5 minutes to happen and be finished with. So yeah, the last book was the most disappointing, but I'm just not gonna get it. I love the first 3. This series is not as in-depth as I like my books, but it's just enough where I'm not bored, but I'm also not overwhelmed. I usually like a little more heart-racing, more complicated stories. The first 2, like I said, kept me hooked in the whole time. The 3rd one kept me hooked until that stupid book trope. And then the 4th one was just meh. So yeah, that is my review of this series. Now let's go on to the next book, Stolen Midnights. Why do I keep finding these princess books? I know why. It's because I'm a sucker for a pretty book. And I think it is so unfair that the young adult section, they have the prettiest, fun book covers. Yes, I bought it. I love my florals. How freaking pretty. And then for us older adults, like, all we get are skulls. Like, how many books have to have skulls? So yeah, so unfair. We once again have our princess who is oblivious to what is happening outside of her little castle bubble. It's rare that we usually get a guy, the MMC, from the slums, someone who isn't in the princess's circle of rich folks. I think that's why I kept thinking of Heartless Hunter, since the FMC is the rich one and our MMC is not. These 2 are the only boys from the slums books I think I've read. Girls in the slums though, and the MMC is a king or prince or a god or just someone who's very rich. There's a million of those. All these girls are just the poor girls from the slums, and our MMCs are the rich guys. And these are the books I have. There are a lot more that I don't have where our girls are from the slums. So like I said, it's just rare where the boys from the slums. So just in the first chapter, there is immediately betrayal between the FMC and MMC, even though they don't know each other. I can't tell you, obviously, what bad thing our boy does, but when he does it, I'm like, ooh, this is gonna bite you in the ass down the road, and it does. So our girl, I had to go look up her name in the book because I totally forgot, Ren, is devastated this whole book over that thing being stolen. We have another condescending dad king who just berates her and talks down to her. What's new? I was really sad because at the beginning of reading this book and knowing they're 18-year-olds and how PG it is, I felt like I was gonna be like, oh no, it's not gonna be good enough to buy, even though I freaking love the cover and sprayed edges. But it did get good enough where I'm like, yes, I can buy this. If it didn't have this cover, I obviously wouldn't buy it, but it still made my list of I would totally read it again. And this is book 1. I have no idea how many books are gonna be in this, but at the end you're like, oh, there's gonna be a book 2. And I hope it's just as gorgeous as this. So yeah, that was basically it. Bad boy does something bad that hurts the girl. This whole book, she's trying to figure out why this happened to her and who did this to her. She doesn't like this boy. He doesn't like her. So we get a little enemies to lovers. We do have magic in this book. We also have gods, which felt pointless throughout this book because they brought up the gods at the beginning. And then I feel like they were never mentioned again. And I was like, what was the point of them? And then towards the end of the book, I was like, oh. But yeah, overall, boy betrays girl, even though they don't know each other. Okay, next I read The Lies That Summon the Night. Okay, this is what I'm talking about when I want something similar to the books that I read, but without our princesses and knight in shining armor. Give me something different than the MMC is secretly the prince. Or the FMC secretly has magical powers and she's the strongest in all the land. So yeah, I'm so glad this wasn't a typical fantasy book like that. So in this book we have the sinless, these blood-sucking immortals who can do no wrong. Vampires much? We have Shadowbanes who are half sinless, half human. Our MMC Dominic is a Shadowbane and he's a monster hunter. The shadows are the monsters in this book. He's giving Cassian with his physical description, you know, long hair, all big and angry and buff. Sinless, Shadowbanes, and now we have sinners. And I'm like, so everyone else? Because practically everything is a sin in this book. Art is a sin, storytelling is a sin, music is a sin, any kind of creativity is a sin. Wow, what an extremely and dull and boring life and universe to live in. What do you guys even do then? So our MMC Dominic, again a Shadowbane, sees our FMC Inanna when she is performing her art. So risque, how dare she be artistic. He wasn't supposed to recruit her on his journey to fight shadows, but she begrudgingly had to come along with 2 other outlaws, one who plays music and one who sketches art. They can summon these monster shadows through their art, and that is why our shadow hunter needs them. So we have a whole journey of fighting shadows. Yes, we have our sexual tension between the main characters. Dominic doesn't have time for relationships. Plus, since he's only half human, he only half feels his emotions compared to when he was a full human. Of course, he's like, what are these things I'm feeling towards Inanna? And then over with Inanna, we have our typical, oh, I hate this man. He took me away from my life, hiding away because I'm an outlaw and promised me a life of freedom. How dare he? So yes, even though we have our typical romantic plots, at least she's not a princess. And the ending is different, thank God. And the only book I can think of that is similar to this different ending is One Dark Window. You'll know what I'm talking about if you read it. Oh, by the way, we have squirrels in this book. Every time that damn squirrel pops up, I start giggling because it feels so modern day. Squirrel. So it's funny with it being incorporated into this horse and carriage world. This book is basically From Blood and Ash plus Ice Planet Barbarians plus One Dark Window. If you read One Dark Window, you'll understand why I'm comparing them, especially towards the end. It has the same mellow, foggy vibe. Mellow in terms of it's not intense, and the ending ends with Ice Planet Barbarians, we hit a point where the main characters are cuddling naked in a cave. Our FMC wakes up like, what the hell? It's snowing outside of this cave. Our MMC goes and finds food and some wood to make a fire. I'm like, oh, this is a more sophisticated version of Ice Planet Barbarians. My best friend who recommended the book to me did not see that at all. But I can't think of any other book where they are naked in the cave and our boy has to go and feed our girl and hunt in the snow. Okay, now with From Blood and Ash, I can't remember if it's in the first book or second book or both, but there is a long journey of traveling through abandoned towns, forests that are full of monsters, and our characters constantly fighting these monsters throughout the book, figuring out what these monsters truly are and why they're here in the first place. Our FMCs annoyed that the MMCs brought them on this journey, but come on, they secretly love it. Also, I love the start of both these books because they were actually different than the typical romantic intros. So yes, overall a fun combo. I thought it was a one and done book when it ended, ended and was happy about that. But it's not, because why does everything have to turn into a series? And it's the same thing with these series. The main goal is just trying to fight an evil kingdom. You cannot say books are not political. We are all trying to fight an evil kingdom. Okay, next we have Into the Blue. I was excited when I started Into the Blue because I was like, wait, this is not a fantasy book. This is a book about humans on Earth and I'm actually enjoying it. We start with AJ, our FMC, and Noah, our MMC. You can feel the strong connection between these characters just from these first pages. They are about to perform together in this theater. Noah is already a famous actor, by the way, but we don't know who AJ is yet. They are going to perform 12 performances together, and that's it. I'm over here like, what do you mean that's it? Noah will be gone. I'm like, never to be seen again? Is it because he's a famous actor? Are they together now and they decided to break up? People don't set dates for when they break up. Already just from this page, I have so many questions. Then, bam, next page we go back 13 years. I'm like, wait, so have they been together for 13 years? And now they've decided to break up? Is the book just gonna be about their 13-year relationship? Wouldn't that be boring? I'm like, stop overthinking this, Sasha, just read the book. So we get AJ and Noah's meet cute. 17-year-old AJ works at a video shop, and Noah, a boy who went to the same school as her, walks in, enters as a new employee. She's confused. Noah Drew has come from a family of great actors. He's bound for greatness and fame, so why is he here? So the first section of this book, we get them working together at this video shop, becoming friends. Remember, Noah comes from a line of actors, and AJ was actually obsessed with his aunt's TV show. So Noah introduces AJ to his aunt, and his aunt, Eudora, wants AJ and Noah to read Romeo and Juliet together. They do, and Eudora feels the chemistry between them. So she made them practice acting. She started with fundamentals, repetition, scene work, kinetic synthesis. I know nothing about theater or acting terms, but you really don't need to follow along. So kinetic synthesis. You are now each other's shadows. When we're done, you'll be so closely attuned that you'll be able to feel each other across a crowded room. This is where their training together begins. Throughout this book, you will feel that pull. It never goes away, no matter how long they've been apart. For example, things do not end well between the two of them at the end of this first part of the book, where they're kids. But they meet again. They are pulled apart for years. They meet again. It feels like you're living through these 13 years with them. You're watching these kids grow, watching them mature. You're feeling their love, feeling their heartbreak. I feel like I watched a ton of movies like this, but I can't think of one. Okay, technically, The Notebook, because they have young love, pulled apart, brought back into each other's lives, pulled apart again. Books are different from a 2-hour movie though, because when you're reading a book, you're with these characters for far longer than 2 hours. So you kind of have more of an attachment to them. The Notebook wasn't a good example to use because it's one of the most famous romance movies, but you get the picture. I think since all I've been reading is fantasy, this real romance hit harder since it was about regular folks. No magic, no princesses, no castles, just two connected souls who are madly in love. Okay, next we have Bald Faced Liar. I have this book because my best friend's work was sizing down and they were getting rid of a lot of stuff, so she just gave this to me, just saying that I didn't purchase it. So Elizabeth May is a traveling nurse and she is loving where she is at now in Santa Cruz. She is not only traveling because of her job, she's basically running away from her childhood and what happened in her hometown when she was 5 years old. There was a lot of talk about Satan, little kids calling her the devil girl, Satan's spawn, and I'm just like, what could she have done at 5 years old to warrant that nickname and bullying all throughout her childhood? So that's basically what she wanted to run away from in this book. But now, decades later, it seems like it all caught up to her in the form of a stalker. So yes, this is basically a stalker book, not a smutty stalker book. The whole stalker aspect was very drawn out and just wasn't intriguing enough for me. I could have ended up in the middle of it, not knowing who the stalker was, and I wouldn't care. That's how uninteresting it was. Honestly, just a boring book in general. I kept wanting to nod off. This is not a thriller or suspense book. I'm sorry. I've only read like 6 or 7 thriller books and they were all better than this. The only thing that made me curious about this book is the whole 5-year-old thing. What could she have possibly done to be called the devil girl throughout her childhood. Okay, next I am on the second book of Inheritance Games. So the first book was about a billionaire grandfather who died and left his inheritance to some random poor girl. Everyone in the family is pissed off. Who is she? She's not related to us. She doesn't even know our grandfather. The grandfather used to love mysteries. He constantly had mysteries for his family to solve, especially his 4 grandsons. So the mystery in the first book is basically figuring out why Granddaddy left everything to some random girl named Avery. So in the second book, the main thing I remember is that we finally find out who Avery is and how she's connected to the family. Is it because she's related to anyone? Is it because Tobias Hawthorne, again, granddad who died, owed her for something? If she's not related, then is it because someone in her family knows the Hawthorns? Or if she is related, wouldn't that be weird because she's into 2 brothers? Oh yeah, that. She's clearly into one brother, but wait, is she feeling something for the other brother? Is there a reason authors always have to throw a girl in between 2 guys? So yes, basically the second book, we get the reveal of who she is. I mentioned in my last video that I'm only reading this series because I have this book and it's the prequel, and everyone's saying you need to read the first 3 Inheritance Games to understand this. So that's why I'm reading the Inheritance Games. Oh, and in the second book, this phrase was in it, the same backward as forward. When I read that line the first time, I was like, huh, that sounds familiar. By the third time I read that line, I was like, oh, that's the name of this book. Now I get it. So the second book did give me context to what this phrase means and who it's directed to. Now I know who the main characters are going to be in this story. Does that really mean I need to read the third one? But I listened to the folks and read the third one. Third one, immediately I was like, how is this already better than the second book? I swear second books are always the fillers. It's obviously another solving mystery book. We have a new young girl come into the picture, Emma. Was she supposed to be the young girl who inherited everything? Emma comes into the story asking for help because someone close to her, who is also close to Avery, has been kidnapped. So we have one mystery of trying to figure out who the kidnapper is, and then we have the second mystery in this book that dead grandpa Hawthorne has thrust upon Avery to solve. If this girl named Emma did pop up in the picture, does that mean Granddad knows Emma's bad? Or is there another secret lurking in this family? That is our third book. Now finally I can read this book I've had sitting on my bookcase since November. As I'm reading the first few chapters, I was just like, I didn't need to read those 3 books. I could have read this book by itself. I feel like I just wasted so much time reading the Inheritance Games, but it did get very boring throughout, even though I was very curious of the origin stories of these characters that were in the Inheritance Games books. But this bored me enough where I felt like I didn't need to finish the rest of the series. So honestly, it was a waste of time. I will say though, I think I would have loved this series as a teenager. It's simple, there's a lot of mystery solving, there's a cute relationship, but for me it just wasn't enough. When I say a book is for teenagers, it usually doesn't mean I'm bashing it or saying it's horrible, it's just not my style anymore. That's all I'm trying to say. I just realized that I didn't write down anything about the last book I read. If I talk about this, like how I would summarize it for my best friend, there'd probably be spoilers. So I'm probably gonna cut out parts of my summary if I bring up the spoilers. This is a rare book where I wrote absolutely nothing. The only other video I did that where I just went through memory was I read 100 something books this year, whatever. So I'm gonna have to cut a lot of this video because I'm gonna be sitting here trying to remember this book. So basically the only 2 books I read in July was the 4th book of that series, and then Joey. After reading, oh okay, I remember why I read Joey. One, I saw the book cover in the bookstore and I loved the sprayed edges, and I knew, or at least the vibe it was giving, is that there was some smut. And after reading teenager books, I'm like, you know, I need a little bit of smut. So Joey is actually our FMC. I thought Joey was the name of the guy, but it wasn't. Joey's our FMC. I realized throughout the first chapters that this was actually the second book, and I was like, oh crap, do I need to read the first book? But you really don't. Like, Joey is the one sister. She has 2 older brothers who are basically assholes. It's a mafia family. And of course the 2 brothers want to protect their little sister Joey. So the first book is about one of the brothers. Those 2 brothers have a best friend. I am forgetting his name. I will put it up here. They have their best friend who's basically like their brother. So Joey grew up with him too. He's kind of her best friend too, slash he's also her trainer. And of course he's hot. And of course she's had a crush on him throughout her childhood. So do they become a thing? Yes. And of course the brothers are pissed off that secretly start dating behind their back. So Joey is pissed throughout this book because she's like, why are my brothers so controlling? Yes, I'm the younger sister, but you don't have to protect me from everything. I think that's enough. But again, I read this book for the smut, and I will say the smut did not disappoint. There's a lot of times when there's a lot of smut, it can get boring and repetitive. There are some authors who just can't do spice properly. It's like, but I'm just saying the spice in this is actually really good. If you want a good, nice, smutty, spicy book, you know, you read an intense series and you just want to relax and read some smut, I totally would recommend it. It's not like a chill Ice Planet Barbarians smut book. There is some kind of mafia war or, you know, tension with the Russians, but the spice itself is good. Just for fun. The other day I was reading the first book and yeah, it didn't hit the same. When we got to the spice a few chapters in, I was just like, but the spice with Joey was good. That's all I'm saying. Okay, now let's rate these books. The first 4, it's gonna be the Legacy series. It's going in order. I like the first one the most just because it was different and it was not our typical kingdoms with the horse and carriages. It was a little more modern with the Fae. Not like Crescent City, but still modern. Second book was my next favorite, then the third, then the fourth. I'm just keeping them all in one so it's easier. I really loved Into the Blue. I might buy the book or put it on my wish list. It was super romantic, but a little sad at the same time. But yeah, it was still good, even though it was a little sad. And then The Lies That Summon the Night, Stolen Midnights, the same backward as forward, Joey, The Inheritance Games, and then Bald Faced Liar. So yeah, those are the 12 books I read in June and July. Hopefully there's nothing wrong with the sound this time, and I will see you guys next month, hopefully.